like it happened with the kid Ace Bailey, where his guy wasn't even an agent. He was just somebody his parents picked out that was a family friend. So, and
Happening a lot. Yeah, that's why I say anybody can call themselves an NIL agent. And I would say the number one thing I've seen, as far as abuse are these uncles, and I put that in quote because they're not always blood related, but these people sort of on the fringe of a family who end up deciding to act as an NIL agent on behalf of this athlete. That is where a lot of the bad cases I've heard about generate from.
Urban Meyer used to call them the fifth uncles. Yeah, he goes,
Yes.
he's listening to his fifth uncle, and they don't even know if they're related, but another Duly Noted podcast comes to you from the Coach's Podcast Room at Spurrier's Gridiron Grill in Celebration Point. Okay, welcome into another Duly Noted podcast presented by Titan MRI and Imaging, coming to you from the Meldon Law Dooley Dome Gator Studios. Appreciate all of our great sponsors. Heard from one of them yesterday who wants to do more with his sponsorship, and having lunch with Christine and Steve in probably about a week and a half, because we were going to do it this week. Something happened, and then next week I'm going to be gone. I'm going to be in that town right there. But anyway, it's just great that people are excited about it. And I don't think it hurts that Coach Spurrier's on here every Monday, and I don't think it hurts that he says things that we love to hear, that are very funny and get people stirred up. We'll talk about that in a little bit. Let's go ahead. Today, Kristi Dosh is going to join us, the Sports Biz Miz, and she's written multiple books. She teaches at UF. She as an adjunct, which my wife is too. She teaches or she lectures around. She really knows the whole NIL. She's written a book, and it's called The Athlete's NIL Playbook, and we want to talk to her about that and all the stuff that's going on. So maybe, for the first time in the history of this program, on episode 462, I think it is, we can figure out what's going on with NIL. I hope so. There's a lot of pressure on you, Kristi. All right. And then, of course, Steve will be here on Monday, and then next Thursday, no show. Not even a replacement show. We're just going, everybody needs to take a day off. Zach needs a day off. I need a day off. Well, we're not going to do a show, and then we'll be right back with you the following Monday and bring you some great guests. I know Mike Bratton is going to join us, SEC Mike, you guys have maybe read his stuff on Twitter, really knows the league. And hey, look, I appreciate the guy. And I did talk to him, and I got some background to make sure that, this isn't a guy in his basement, which is really getting a bad knock. Somebody sitting in his basement playing video games has now become the evil empire, I think, for everybody, whether it's politics or sports or, Billy Napier called out the guy in his basement in Orlando, and there are no basements in Orlando. But anyway, I think you're getting my point. So we'll be back. We'll be back Monday, though, with the show. All right, let's get to our Royal Blue starting five. And speaking of Royal Blue, he is the guy I talked to the other day, Randy Royal, who does such a great job over there at Royal Blue. And we're going to go over and play golf, I think, in about a week and a half over there on a Wednesday, I think, or Thursday, maybe Thursday. But we have the podcast on that following Thursday. Anyway, I'm saying things you don't care about. But we appreciate Randy, and we'll have a great discussion about what he can do to continue to help his business and help our podcast, which a lot of people who do this, who are involved in the sponsorship, are doing it because they believe that they want to hear what I have to say. And that's what I'm here for. So let's get to our Royal Blue starting five. Enough jabbering from me. Number one on our Royal Blue starting five is Florida keeps recruiting, of course, and they're doing a heck of a job. They got another one yesterday, Kendall Gervil is the exact. Now, again, this guy may never play at Florida, may transfer out, you never know. I'm never one to assume that just because a guy's coming here, he's going to be a great player. But this looks like the kind of piece you want to fit in. A big guy who can, 315 pounds, 6'5", 4-star, whether it's 4-star or 5-star, it doesn't really matter. But this is another, I mean, it's not like they're going out there and just saying, hey, who are the top 90 guys on the board? Let's go after those. They're recruiting guys for specific reasons, which is the Nick Saban blueprint. A lot of people, I think by now most people know about it, but the Nick Saban blueprint is you only go after certain athletes in terms of multiple things. One is height, length, speed. Can he play basketball? Does that, because basketball players tend to be more athletic, and does he have good character and all that? Can he does he have a good family? There's a lot of reasons to recruit a kid. One of them is some guys are great players, and sometimes you'll take a chance on them. And certainly Florida did with some guys in the Urban Meyer era. I don't know that they really took. To me, the biggest one was Percy, and I'm glad they took him. Because, boy, that was 3 years of greatness, and there's no doubt about it. Anyway, the thing is, Florida is going to have a couple more. In fact, I think they could have one as early as today in this, just out of the latest group that we're in here. But the point is, Florida's recruiting really well. So is Alabama. Alabama's got 4 guys in the ESPN Top 100. Nobody else has more than one. Georgia's recruiting really well. Texas, look, the usual suspects are doing it. They're great jobs. Notre Dame's getting kids. Oregon's getting. Florida's at least keeping up with it. Now, they're not getting the 5 stars. They're getting a lot of 4 stars, though, and that's good. And the 3 stars that they feel like can develop. I always go back to, the Elijah Martin, Walter Clayton thing, but that's a different sport. So maybe that's not a good comparison. The bottom line is, and I say bottom line way too much, I know that. But in the end, he's doing a heck of a job. He's doing a good job recruiting. And again, he's not building classes based on success that they've had on the field. And that is a hard thing to do. When you've had 3 years and you are what? I'll do the math real quickly. You're even 500, right? In 3 years as a head coach, and you're trying to sell kids on come here and win championships, which is a factor. It's hard. It's very difficult, but they're getting better, and hopefully they can get it done. So we'll see what happens going forward with that. But yeah, it is recruiting time, and it's that season. It's talking season, but for the coaches, it's recruiting season. Let's get to number 2 on our Royal Blue starting 5. I was on radio today. Jeff Prosser had me on 1010XL. I love doing it for 1010XL. Love those guys up there. And we talked about the Gators, obviously, and a lot of things. And there's such a theme here for Florida football going into the year, and that is Florida might be good, might be really good. Might not be good. That is the theme. The theme is nobody really knows about Florida. And he was saying he thought 8-4 was kind of the line to make or not make. And that's what I said. I've said this all along. I think 10-2 is the ceiling, and I think 5-7 is the floor. And 5-7 is the floor because of the schedule. That's the only reason. If the schedule was, like Missouri's, I think it'd be a totally different story. But, most teams in the SEC have very difficult schedules. It's just who is going to win. Somebody's going to win every game that's played this year. I know that for a fact. Somebody is going to win every game that's played. So can you be the team? I talked about this a little bit last week. Can you be the team that goes on the road and wins games? I went with, I talked on our radio show, The Tailgate, 4 to 6 every day. Jeff and I were doing this little game where I play with him, where I gave him the schedule team by team and said, "What's your confidence level and how much of a must win is it?" And then in the end of the day, my confidence level is good enough. I don't think it was below a 5 on any team that Florida plays. However, I can see him losing a lot of those games. And we talked a lot about the 2-4 possibility, which is a real possibility. I don't think it's going to happen. Don't get all upset. But when you have those games, those 4 games, after you have the 2 softies, and South Florida is still soft. But when you have the 4 games, and you go to LSU, to Miami, play Texas at home, and then at Texas A&M, who just beat the crap out of you last year. 2-4 is in the mix. I'm not saying they're going 2-4. I'm saying, and what I am also saying is that if they go 2-4, that seat gets really hot. Jeff doesn't see any way they would pop him after that point. I don't think they would either. Okay, so last year he showed he can hold a team together even if in the face of adversity. And I think that's one of his real strengths. But if you're 2-4 and you're not going, your best bet is probably to go 8-5 again. Are you showing progress? But we should just forget about that. That has nothing to do with anything. We got months to go. What is it? 8 weeks, 8.5 weeks until the first game. Then it starts happening, and we'll see, and it'll fly by as it always does. But I'm just curious what this team is going to be able to do, because we know they've got good players. Do they have better players than LSU? Probably not. They have better players than Miami. Well, if you're going to look at the entire rosters, probably not. They have spent a lot of money. Certainly, I would say not better players than any of those teams, and you're going on the road to play them both. Do they have better players than A&M? Maybe a little bit better, but you're going on the road to play them. Do they have better players in Texas? Absolutely not. But it doesn't mean you can't beat them at home. So, these are all the things that are rushing through my mind, and every day they come up in my brain, and it's a scary place to be in there. I can tell you that. All right. So that was my number 2 on our Royal Blue starting 5. Let's get to number 3 on our Royal Blue starting 5. We could be heading for NASCAR because NHL, the LSU Tigers. God, get it out, Pat. Spit it out. The LSU Tigers, you're aware of that team. Brian Kelly's their coach. They are trying to put patches. They want patches of the sponsor on their jerseys, which is not prohibited by NCAA rules. At the same time, I see a lot of teams with Jordan things on there and with Nike swooshes on there. That's allowed, but not raising canes, which I'm sure is what LSU is looking at. But LSU is asking if they want to be able to do it. And if that happens, they're saying we'll do it tastefully on all the uniforms for all the players. And you don't even, won't even be a big deal. And I'm like, I don't know. You got to find a way to pay that $20 million. And that's the thing. I think there was a misconception early that people thought, hey, look, the NCAA is giving everybody $20 million to spend. Well, this will be great. No, they're telling you you've got to spend $20 million on your team. So you've got to come up with the money. More than that, they're saying there's $20 million you can spend, but you got to come up with the money. And so this is LSU's one way they're thinking about doing it. And I start thinking about Florida. Are they going to have a Publix, across there like over here, or I'm trying to think of a Conecuh sausage. But if they do, I guess I can't be critical of it. Look at what I'm doing right now. This is what makes the world go round, is generating ad revenue. And that's why these teams, all these programs, all these power conferences are getting these huge amounts of money every year. $58, $60 million, whatever it ends up being per team. And it's because of ad revenue generated by the TV stations who then give the money to the team. So I can't complain about it. I mean, if it starts to look goofy, we're going to call it out. But I mean, I don't know when it ends. I mean, nobody cares about NASCAR. Nobody cares about some of the other sports that have had, some commercial, like baseball, that Quikrete that's on the Braves uniforms. I mean, hey, look, any way you can make more money and be able to generate more money for your program, I think everything, there's nothing still on the table. We can get to a point where you're going to have Florida Bet, not ESPN Bet, but Florida Bet or Auburn Bet, and they're going to have a site and they're going to say, here's how you should bet this game. Look, everything's on the table right now. All right, let's get to number 4 on our Royal Blues starting 5. Royal Blue, your place to go get a boat. Paul Feinbaum was on his, he was doing the First Take or whatever, I watch these shows, but I don't really know what they're called. First Take and Get Up, I think, are the 2 shows, but they're the same show. They're just in different studios. And he was talking about Arch Manning, and the Spurrier thing came up again, and he was saying, hey, look, Arch Manning is the best quarterback entering a season since Tim Tebow was coming in 06. And I'm like, well, nobody thought of Tim Tebow in 06 in the first place of being this elite quarterback. We hoped he would be, and he became one. He became an elite college quarterback, maybe one of the best to ever play. But as a freshman, they had a quarterback, and he was a backup. It's more like but the point, I think, is there are a lot of guys sitting there going, whoa, 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 whoa. What, did you not watch Jaden Daniels play at LSU? Did you not watch Kyle Trask the year he had at Florida? Have you not watched Paul? I love you, buddy. You know that. But and then today, of course, he came on and they asked him about it again, and he's like, hey, look, everybody's killing me. I think his quote was he felt like the Democratic mayoral candidate in New York, that everybody was beating him up. And he goes, and look, I don't think he's right, but he may not be wrong. Who knows whether he is or not. And that's the thing. We have no idea about Arch Manning. We know he is doing a lot of the things that Peyton did. And when I hear him about how he's studying guys, Peyton used to do that too. In fact, I've told this story before, but I was walking with him up in Knoxville, Peyton Manning, and to do an interview. We were going to do an interview, and great guy. I love Peyton Manning. I really do. But he had all these films, and they were NFL films. And I said, you trying to study guys? And he goes, well, yeah. He says, but I'm also looking to see if somebody throws a zone defense that I've never seen before. I'm just always looking, study the game. That made him a dangerous player. Now, he wasn't dangerous to Florida, okay? He was dangerous to everybody else. But the bottom line is the Arch Manning is doing the same things, doing things the smart way. I don't think anything's going to go to his head. I think he'll probably be really good. When he comes in here into the swamp, I hope he doesn't play well. If he, other than that, like Spurrier said on our podcast Monday, he said, if DJ Lagway can't win it, I want Arch to win it. He has nothing against that family. Everybody thinks he's taking shots at Arch because of the things he used to say about Tennessee, but no, he and Archie Manning are very good friends. So anyway, let's get to number 5 on our Royal Blue starting 5. Tomorrow is a special day. It could be today if you're listening to the podcast on the 4th of July, but it certainly is a special day. We all need to remember that it's not about fireworks. It's not about hot dogs and hamburgers. All those things are great, but it's about a country that was found in freedom. And the bravery that those guys showed way back when, in 1776, to say, hey, we're going to we don't want taxation without representation. So I hope everybody understands why we're celebrating this day. I think most people do. But don't forget, it's not just about how drunk you can get. It's about, it's about what it means for this country and what this country became. Okay. That's my little 4th of July spiel. And I'm going to a party. So I'm looking forward to it in town. Going to a party Saturday too. I'm partying up this weekend. How about that? No, people usually don't invite us to parties very often, just the bars. All right, that is our Royal Blue starting 5. Let's take a break. When we come back, Kristi Dosh will join us, who has founded, a school of business, basically. I mean, she just teaches people how to know business sports, and she's the best at it. So we're going to get her to explain stuff. Again, she's a teacher here at UF, an adjunct, and she has written a book, The Athlete's NIL Playbook. We want to get her on to talk about that. We'll talk to her about the monetization of the players, putting these patches on them too, as well. So we'll get her on, and we'll play Yes, No Way, or Maybe with her as well. This is another Duly Noted podcast presented by Titan MRI and Imaging, coming to you from the Meldon Law Gator Studios. Here are just a few reasons why doing business with the Royal Blue puts you at the helm of your boating lifestyle. 1, the longer we have your listing, the lower percentage commissions you will pay. 2, survey reimbursement for qualified buyers. 3, detail reimbursement for qualified sellers. 4, on-the-water delivery orientation availability. Call us today to schedule a consultation to see what Royal Blue can do to solve all of your boating needs. Call Randy at 850-974-1294.
Coach, it always impressed me how you beat Florida State to win the 1996 national championship.
And I was really impressed with your 06, 08, and 09 Gator teams.
And the way you coached Danny to the Heisman Trophy.
A lot like what you did with Tim Tebow.
You know, you won more SEC championships than you lost home games at the Swamp.
And you had plenty of super games in front of our Gator Nation.
Yeah, there really is something special about the Swamp.
I guess that's why we say about the Swamp, only the Gators get out alive.
To the Swamp and the Gators, with the best beverage served at Spur's Gridiron Grill, 100% agave, Los Landeros tequila, aged in bourbon barrels for a smoother taste.
I think you mean head beer coach, 1966 lager, a crisp, light, bodied lager for easy drinking.
Nope. Los Landeros tequila, smooth enough to drink neat and bold enough to elevate a cocktail.
1966 lager, enjoyed on game days in the fall or whenever you need a winning cold brew.
Los Landeros tequila.
1966 lager.
Los Landeros.
1966 lager.
Y'all stop bickering.
Okay, you're both wrong anyway. The best thing Spurrier's Gridiron Grill offers are Jerry's famous chocolate chip cookies.
Great food, great atmosphere, a diverse menu, everything made from scratch, plenty of space, and locally owned. These are all the characteristics of a great restaurant, and you can find each and every one of them right here in Gainesville at Ballyhoo Grill. Ballyhoo Grill prepares all of their food fresh every day, from their salad dressing to their award-winning soups. Bring your family and enjoy dinner under the Tim Tebow Tiki Hut while listening to live music. Or if you're running low on time to eat out, they also deliver through Uber Eats, Bite Squad, and Postmates. A Gainesville staple that's been open for over 30 years. Check out Ballyhoo Grill on Facebook or at ballyhoogrill.com.
Titan MRI, North Central Florida's premier independent diagnostic testing MRI facility. At Titan MRI, we're focused on you, the patient, having a great customer experience. Our MRI equipment is modern and 75% quieter than any unit in its class. And our MRI unit has one of the largest openings of any of the newer high-strength MRI units, which allows comfortable scanning for potential claustrophobic and larger patients. At Titan MRI, we look forward to serving you.
All right, welcome back to another Duly Noted podcast presented by Titan MRI and Imaging, coming to you from the Meldon Law Gator Studios. It is great to bring in a good friend of mine, Kristi Dosh, who I've known for a long time. I actually met her through her husband, Chad Scott, and she does a great job. And I'm telling you, she is going to solve all of our problems. She's written a book called The Athlete's NIL Playbook, one of her many books. She also does lectures and teaches as an adjunct here at the University of Florida. Are you straightening people out here at UF? And welcome in, Kristi.
Yeah, it's been really fun to come back and teach at UF. I went to law school at Florida, so it's been fun to get to come back and teach. And now I teach some undergrads who are going to law school, and it's been fun to kind of mentor them.
Well, I mean, when in the Athletes NIL playbook that, again, this is for, I would assume it's for not only the athletes, but the coaches and boosters and parents. That's a pretty good audience right there. What are you trying to help them out with? What are you trying to get through to them? What is the main purpose of this?
I mean, the biggest question I get is just from athletes and their parents is, how do I get started? And so years ago, when this all started, I put together a web page where I answered some frequently asked questions and kind of had a little get started guide, and it just kept growing. And I had played around with this book outline. And now after, when I was writing it, it was 3 years of NIL. I sort of took all the questions I'd been asked by athletes, by their parents, by people starting up NIL businesses, people that wanted to become NIL agents, coaches, administrators, and it's sort of all in this book. It helped that I have been teaching NIL at UF in the undergraduate and the graduate programs. And so I've gotten to sort of test this material out and figure out what people need to know. And the book was sort of written based on the modules I teach in my classes, because I found a system that worked where people could understand what the ecosystem looked like and athletes could understand what opportunities are available and how to go after them. And so the book was kind of born out of all the work I've done the first 4 years of NIL. And then I added in revenue sharing at the last minute. I knew it was coming. I was pretty sure the judge was going to approve it. And so the last chapter is on revenue sharing.
Well, and also you got the foreword written by Haley and Hannah Cavender. So, I mean, that right there is big time, because now we kept looking through there for the pictures of them, but they weren't in there. But
I think there is one picture of them in there, from
one, yeah.
In Times Square, because I started covering them literally on day one of NIL, July 1st, 2021. They were one of the first athletes to announce a deal at, in the middle of the night that night. And I have covered them ever since and had the opportunity to share a stage with them last year and do a speaking engagement together. And I'm so impressed by everything that they've done. But I've also been telling people, look, having Hannah and Haley write the foreword was such an honor. And I think they're so inspirational for athletes coming up behind them. We can't all be Haley and Hannah Cavender, so the book focuses more on athletes you've never heard of, because I wanted to show it doesn't matter if you're Division 1, 2, 3, if you're NAIA, you don't have to be a household name, you don't have to play a certain sport. The athletes that are profiled in the book aren't people you've ever heard of. They're just average student athletes and anyone can sort of copy and emulate what they're doing. And so I really wanted to make NIL accessible for all student athletes, not just, the very top ones that get the headlines.
That's one thing that, and I know that you talk about red flags in the book too, and that's a thing that I think we're all waiting for the first time that a kid we find out didn't pay his taxes or something like that, and all of a sudden
it's already happened. We just don't know about it yet, but it has happened.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. It is just fascinating to think about these 18-year-old kids and what they're dealing with and how they have to grow up. And the other thing is the agent involvement now has gone from, well, you can have an advisor, and now full-blown agents negotiating. Tampering, as you know, is going on rampantly, and they're trying to get a control of that.
Well, and agents in quote marks, because I just got done doing a TikTok that I'm probably going to put up later today about NIL agents and the fact that anyone can walk out their front door right now and call themselves an NIL agent. There's no standard, there's no registration. Anyone can call themselves that. And so unfortunately, I've seen quite a few student athletes who've had money stolen by agents, who've signed really bad contracts at the behest of their agents. And so I think athletes and parents need to be more educated about who they're hiring to do this stuff. And in fact, the NBA is bringing me in to talk to their junior NBA program, because the NBA has noticed that it's an issue. They certify their agents, but a lot of times these athletes, especially when they're at the very top, they're a top prospect, they're signing with somebody when they're a teenager, when they're still in high school, because we've got high school NIL deals happening. And so then by the time they get to the NBA, they've been with this person for years and potentially done all sorts of damage. We actually saw a really good case of that. We had, and now I'm just blanking on his name. Was it Marvin Harrison Jr.? He got to the NFL and couldn't get a jersey because of an NIL deal he signed in college with a competitor of Fanatics, and then Fanatics does the NFL jersey. So he didn't have a jersey his rookie year because of a contract he signed in college. So that's the kind of stuff I want people to look out for going forward.
Yeah, there's some crazy stuff, and now we're finding out, and which is like, I can't believe nobody's tried to do this before. LSU wants to put a patch. I'm sure it'll be Raising Cane's. on their jerseys for all their sports, and they got to go through the NCAA to get that approved. But once it's approved, then everybody's going to go, well, I hope we don't become NASCAR. But I mean, that is probably something you have to deal with all the time, is what is going to be the next thing that happens.
Yeah, because right now athletic departments are trying to figure out how do we generate more revenue to afford this revenue sharing that we're being asked to do with our athletes, because that money was already allocated other places, whether that's staff salaries or it's travel for teams. I mean, there's all these other expense buckets that stuff was going into. Now the Power Four all want to be able to share that full 20.5 million. It's got to come from somewhere. There have been layoffs, some sports have been cut, adjustments have been made with things like Alston awards. We're seeing them tighten the belt to be able to afford revenue sharing, but they're going to be looking for new revenue streams. And I remember when I first started reporting on the business of college sports, it was, I don't know if controversial is the right word, but it was sort of novel that people started selling naming rights to their stadiums.
Yeah.
And now we see naming rights sold for a lot of the athletic facilities across the country. Not all, but we see a lot of that being sold. And I think you're right. We're going to start seeing things like jersey patches and other ways to get sponsors in the door to help shoulder the burden of this revenue sharing.
Yeah, I was one of those sports writers that goes, I'm not calling it the Tostitos Fiesta Bowl. I'm just calling it the Fiesta Bowl.
Well, who can remember? It changes every few years. So, I write my story and I'm like, wait, what bowl is that?
Yeah, do you say that they won the Mazda Gator Bowl, or do they win back then
who
they
knows
won the
anymore?
Mazda Gator Bowl, but now it's a tax layer. But yeah, it's crazy stuff. I know it's interesting for you to deal with us, but and without, if you take Jaden Rashad out of the picture, what's the craziest story you've heard? Because you're not going to get any crazier than Jaden Rashad with NIL.
I think it's probably, and I'm going to forget his first name, but his last name was Cunningham. He was a high school football player in Georgia, and he was sort of convinced by an agent, and I think by several other people, to move to California the first year of NIL, because California allowed high school NIL, and Georgia did not at the time. And he moved out there, was living with some prep football coach, who later, I think, as the story went, ended up being arrested for sexual assault, or there was something bad that happened there. He went out there and then did not play the first half of the football season because the California High School Sports Association, whatever it's called, they ruled him ineligible because he didn't have a legitimate reason for moving into California and attempting to play there. So he missed half of a season before he was able to appeal that and get back on the field. That's the kind of stuff that upsets me about NIL, is when we're messing with athletes with their future, for short-term gain. I think he was led astray by people who had their own interests in mind, not his.
And that's the thing, Kristi, we're not going to know probably 10, 15 years, how much effect all this NIL stuff has had on the student athletes, and what, are we not graduating kids now? Are we not, are kids getting in trouble because they didn't make the NFL, and so, but they've got money from, I don't think we know the answer to all those questions for a while.
Yeah, another bad one we've seen, Jervon Dexter. He signed with a company called Big League Advance. They advanced him $450,000 roughly. It was somewhere around there. But he gave up 15% of all future NFL earnings. And for his first NFL contract, that ended up being over $1 million he owed to this Big League Advance. So they were going to more than double their money on him. He's in court with that right now. And there are actually several pro athletes in other sports that it wasn't even NIL related, but have signed with Big League Advance and are now suing them over things. So, we're seeing more, I guess I would call them predators come into this space. And I think that pro athletes, they're older, they're more mature, they've seen more, they've got a bigger, better team of advisors around them. 16 and 17-year-olds, their parents signing contracts on their behalf at that point, and even on into the college years, they just don't know what they're signing a lot of the time, and they feel pressured to sign quickly. They'll DM me and say, can you look at this contract for me? And I'll say, well, I can't give you legal advice, but here's people I would refer you to. And they're like, well, they said I got to sign it by the end of the week. And I was like, well, there's red flag number one. If they are pressuring you to sign, there's probably an issue with it.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that's like for every Lee Steinberg, there's a Tank Black. I mean, you just never know what you're going to get. And I mean, like it happened with the kid Ace Bailey, where Guy wasn't even an agent. He was just somebody his parents picked out that was a family friend. So, and
Happening a lot. Yeah, that's why I say anybody can call themselves an NIL agent. And I would say the number one thing I've seen, as far as abuse are these uncles, and I put that in quote because they're not always blood related, but these people sort of on the fringe of a family who end up deciding to act as an NIL agent on behalf of this athlete. That is where a lot of the bad cases I've heard about generate from.
Urban Meyer used to call them the fifth uncles. Yeah, he goes,
Yes.
he's listening to his fifth uncle, and they don't even know if they're related. But all right, we play this game with our guest every week. It's called Yes, No Way, or Maybe. Answer 3 questions: yes, no way, or maybe. But feel free to expound on them as we get into it. It's brought to you by Big Mill's Cheesesteak, street dining done the right way. If you go in there and say, "Hey, I heard Kristi Dosh on another Dooley Noted podcast," you get free French fries with your order. All right. Number 1, you miss being, this is a complicated question, okay? You miss being a working lawyer as much as I miss being a working sports writer.
No way. I do not ever want to go back to practicing law. Thank you anyway.
Well, and I don't miss it either. I miss things about it. Like I miss being at a on press row for for the NCAA tournament, and the game's getting ready to start, and that tension. I miss that. I don't miss getting there. I don't miss the travel at all. But yeah. All right, number 2, you will let us talk to Savannah Carlisle.
Yes,
I figure you gotta have a Southern accent for her, right?
No, I can't do that. If I swap into that, I'll never get back out of it again. Yeah. Savannah Carlisle, my pen name for my romance novels, because Amazon and Barnes and Noble and their algorithms can't keep straight that I write sports books, but I also write romance novels, so I get to have a pen name, which is fun.
Savannah's a good name. I like that name.
I love the city of Savannah, so that's why I chose it.
Absolutely. It's great there. All right. And then finally, on number 3 on Yes, No, Where, Maybe, brought to you by Big Mill's Cheesesteak. And again, she's coming to you on the Big Mill's Cheesesteak Zoom line as well. You have no idea what college football is going to look like in 5 years.
I'm gonna go maybe, because I have some guesses for where this goes in the next 5 years. I think like big seismic changes. Obviously, we just went through one with revenue sharing. I don't think we see another big seismic change in the next 5 years, because I think the next one would be employment and collective bargaining, and I don't think that's going to happen under the current administration. And so we have to see, where we end up in the next presidential election, because it tends to be that when Democrats are in office, it's easier to get through the NLRB and to have athletes declared employees, and eventually lead to them collective bargaining. So I think that won't happen until there's a Democrat in office again.
That's going to be interesting. But, I always talk about this super conference, and what teams are going to be able to kick out. And, we were talking about that the other day, but it's just, who knows what it's going to look like? Like, it's, for example, this commission they've put together.
Yeah.
I'm like, you think they're going to stop cheating? The cheating was existing way before NIL, okay?
How are they going to find out about these deals? I was at NACDA with the athletic directors days after the settlement was approved, and on panels and in conversations in the bar at night with them. And even they didn't really understand how the College Sports Commission is going to work. They didn't know what the penalties were going to be. They didn't know, how would you know that an athlete didn't submit their deal to the clearinghouse? And a lot of those questions still haven't been answered. And this is almost a month later.
Yeah, absolutely. Kristi, I could talk to you all day, man. You're great. And we'll get you on again, the show again, because just the way you're able to enlighten us with all this information, because I'm not very smart. I thought for a long time the NCAA was giving the schools the $20 million each. So that's how dumb I am. But we'll get you on again. And I appreciate you coming on, though.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Happy to come on anytime.
All right. We'll be back with more of another Duly Noted podcast presented by Titan MRI and Imaging from the Meldon Law Gator Studios right after this break.
Meldon Law has been serving personal injury victims since 1971. In those days, Jeffrey Meldon's presence as an attorney in the music scene dubbed him with the nickname the Hippie Attorney. And although times have changed, 2 things haven't: our commitment to bettering our community by helping the injured,
Albert, are you ready to go to the game?
And our love for the Florida Gators.
If you bleed orange and blue, Meldon Law is the firm for you.
Adams Rib Company has been a staple of Gainesville for more than a decade and a staple of the Dooley house ever since Kelsey's teeth came in. The first time I walked into Adams, I told my daughter that the green beans are always a test of a great barbecue restaurant, and they were perfect. You know about the ribs that melt in your mouth, and my favorite, the turkey plate. But be sure to go in on Fridays for Nana's Fish Nuggets. They will melt in your mouth. Adams Rib Co., a Gainesville great. Hey, I'm Pat Dooley, and I'm using a sterile compounded medication prescribed through BMI TeleMed. The medication contains the same active pharmaceutical ingredient as FDA-approved Wegovy, but is compounded with vitamin B6 to help with nausea, with some patients experience to some degree. My prescription comes from a licensed sterile compounding pharmacy, which is regulated by the Florida Department of Health and Board of Pharmacy. Compounded medications like mine are an alternative option when manufactured brands are in shortage or unavailable for many patients through their healthcare plans. Look, it worked for me once. I'm trying it again. Okay, welcome back to another Duly Noted podcast presented by Titan MRI and Imaging, coming to you from the Meldon Law Dooley Dome Gator Studios, where the garbage trucks are going to be pulling around any minute now. It's always fun, but not too much noise. I think we've been able to keep out the background noise. All right, let us get to our BMI TeleMed Smart Move of the Week. BMI TeleMed, your weight loss specialist, achieve and maintain. I'm doing both right now. I'm actually on a good roll here. Feeling really good about the weight I've been able to lose in the last week or so. Really trying to stay with it. You know, you got to stick with it, man. That's the way it works. And I tell you what, if you go to BMI TeleMed, give them a call at 727-383-1677, which many of our listeners have done, and they are able to get 10% off to get the semaglutide and be able to get a weight loss plan going. And they've got a plan. It's not just, we'll send it to you. You know, we've got a plan for you, and they'll spend time talking to you. I appreciate those guys over at BMI TeleMed. All right, BMI TeleMed Smart Move of the Week to me was the Knicks hiring Mike Brown. Look, Mike Brown, sometimes he's one of those guys that you kind of get tired of. But in the NBA, everybody gets tired of everybody. You know, there's very few guys that stay around forever. But twice has been the NBA Coach of the Year. So, you know, he's got the credentials. He walks in with that. You know, I mean, they were at one point talking about Don Staley. So I'm like, look, I would love to see Don Staley or another really successful woman try to coach the NBA. I don't think it would work. I know it wouldn't work in New York. You need to go to like Oklahoma City. Of course, you'd love to go to Oklahoma City with the roster they have. Anyway, the point is Mike Brown can help the Knicks. I think you're at the point now where it's not going to get worse. It has a real chance to get a little bit better, which is all you need to do. It's not like you've got to blow it up and start over. You just need to get a little bit better. And maybe Mike Brown can add that. So I think it's a smart move to hire him. So the hiring of Mike Brown by the Knicks, we don't say it often, but the Knicks actually had our BMI TeleMed Smart Move of the Week. Let us move along to our Hesser and Kipke 3 Things, brought to you by Hesser and Kipke, Ken and Jennifer over at that great law firm. They do a great job with family law and workers' compensation. If you need to get a hold of them, just give them a ring at 352-339-9920 or www.hklawfl.com. Hesser and Kipke. The 3 things right now, the number one is that the lineups came out yesterday for the All-Star game. I'm not a big fan of the All-Star game. It's weird how I'm getting really into Major League Baseball, though, this year, which usually I'm just a Braves fan, that's it. But I'm like, there's a lot of really good stories in baseball. And maybe it's because we're in that dead time, but usually I don't. I still don't get all over it. Anyway, that's not even the point. You don't care what I think. Because I'm not a big fan of the Home Run Derby or the All-Star game. But I'll watch some of it. To me, the big story was Javi Baez is now going to start at 3 different positions in the All-Star game. 2 in the NL, 1 in the AL. And of course, he's with the Tigers now. But I think there were 2 or 3 other guys that did it. Gosh, Killebrew was one. I think Pete Rose was one. Yeah, that would make sense. I can't remember who the other one was. But anyway, that's a pretty cool achievement. And now everybody knows who's on the All-Star starting lineups and enjoy it. A lot of those guys I've never heard of, but maybe I'll just watch it and try to get acquainted with it because I really want to get back into baseball because it gives you something to watch. There's no reason to have 3 TVs if you're not going to watch any baseball. All right, let's move along to our number 2 thing on our Hesser and Kipke 3 things. Number 2, Red Panda. Oh, man, I don't know if you saw it, but she had a bad fall. I think she said it was a equipment failure was the reason she went down, and she went down hard, like Billy the Kid, and she broke her wrist, it turns out. She's out of the hospital, but she's going to be laid up for a couple of weeks. And I know she already had stuff planned out, but as long as she's back by September, that's when she really starts her heavy lifting for a lot of things. So I know she's got like an AI conference. I looked up her schedule because I was curious. But we all love the Red Panda. I mean, she's great, you know. I don't think she's worth cursing over on ESPN like Pat McAfee did, but she is really good. And we love having her. You know, the thing is, every time she gets up on that unicycle, you're like, oh, is she going to fall? She never does until this time. All right. She does sometimes miss with the bowls, though, and then she'll say, let's start over. And so she starts over. All right, let's get to number 3 on our Hesser and Kipke 3 things, and that is, of course, Damian Lillard got released this week, and people are freaking out about it, and they're wondering what's going to happen. Is Miles Turner really? They don't have a guard now, the Bucks. It is a weird dynamic. Apparently, there's 3 teams that are in play for him. Don't forget, he had an Achilles injury, and I don't know when he'll be back. It'll be very late in the season, I would think. Achilles take a while. But the teams that are interested, Golden State, the Celtics, and the Los Angeles Lakers. So, look, you're not going to get them till late, but it might be worth it for a playoff run and for, the playoffs. So, I don't know. We'll see what happens there, but it'll be something interesting to keep your eye on as the NBA has just been in flux. People going all over the place. And is LeBron going to leave? Anyway, I got the himbo question right today, by the way. I'm very proud of myself. The question was, who was the first guy to make all NBA on 4 different teams? And I knew it was Shaq. I got it right. So give me credit for that. So I know a little something about the NBA. Anyway, that is our Hesser and Kipke 3 things. Let's move to our Gallo Car Wash Sponge of the Week, brought to you by Gallo Car Wash. They do a great job of getting your car ready. And of course, we're in that time of year where it's getting dirty pretty easily. So, we're also in love bug season. So if you take a trip, in fact, my daughter went to Miami and came back about a couple of weeks ago, and I had to take it into Gallo and make sure that they got all those love bugs off of there. Our Gallo Car Wash Sponge of the Week is Florida men's basketball, and this is a weird one for you, okay? It may be a little bit of a reach, but they're sponging your home ticket package because the non-conference games, let's think about this. Now, I understand Todd Golden's theory. I totally agree with it. And it helps. It helps your net ranking. We saw how high up it shot last year. But you know what really helps it? Winning. Winning helps it more than anything. But Florida's home games in the non-conference schedule, FSU, playing them every year, Merrimack, Colgate, Dartmouth, St. Francis, I think it's the college, not the high school, St. Francis, and UNF. Chaz Lanier's not walking through that door there. But I just feel like you need to jazz it up a little more. They've got 2 TBAs, but they're both neutral site games. So they're playing a lot of these neutral site games. It helps your net ranking, helps your RPI, helps anything Ken Palm or Jerry Palm want to give you, it's going to help. by winning neutral site games. You still got to win some of them. You got to win a majority of them, which they did last year. They won them all. And some of them didn't turn out to be as beneficial, but they still were good. They weren't great. They were still good. I get it. But man, they're soaking it by giving you these. This is your home schedule. Now, the conference home schedule is ridiculously good. It's one of the best ones it's been in a long time, partly because the league is so good. We know what happened last year with 14 teams getting in, Florida winning it all, and it's going to be similar this year. The first first Leonardo bracketology had 14 teams in, so the league is so good. So when you look at the home schedule, you go, wow, that's going to be this place is going to be rocking. So everything's going to be fine. Everything's going to be fine. But I did want to point out that that's the home schedule for non-conference games. All right. Let's go to our this, that, and the other. Of course, this, that, and the other. We love doing this, that, and the other. And it is brought to you by Darr Schackow Insurance, as well as Ballyhoo Grill. Place to go. I think I'm going to go there tomorrow, maybe for lunch today. You never know. And of course, by our good friends at Notary Joe's. Notary Joe will come to your house. He's a mobile notary guy, and if you're a veteran, you get a discount. So Notary Joe getting it done every day. We appreciate all of our great sponsors. This, that, and the other. I love preseason polls. I can't wait for the AP Top 25 to come out. I can't wait for the USA Today poll to come out. I can't wait for the SEC to reveal what the media voted for. I love them. Not everybody loves them, though, as you know. There are people on who do a radio show with me who doesn't like them, doesn't like preseason polls. Well, that is that the Big Ten, for years, doesn't do a poll anymore. They quit doing it, and like several papers are doing their own polls. They call the beat writers, and they want to get their takes, or they email them, and so it still comes out. But the Big Ten does not release an official. This is a predicted order of finish. And now the other is that the Big 12 has done the same thing. They have decided, well, look, last year, guys, you picked Oklahoma State won. They went 0-9 in the league. You picked Arizona State last. They won the league. You don't need to vote anymore. Now, they got it wrong. I get it. And a lot of times people get it wrong. The media gets it wrong. I get it wrong. I can give you the Big 12 what I think it's going to be right now, and it's probably going to be wrong. I can give you the SEC. It's I know the SEC one's going to be wrong. But it's still fun. I just don't understand it's so harmless. Why people get hot and bothered about it. But I'm just worried that the SEC is going to follow suit and say, now again, I'm not voting anymore, so I don't care, but they're going to say, hey, you're right. This does seem crazy. We have to rank a team 16th in the conference. That we don't want to announce that somebody's 16th. And I think that may be a big part of what we're talking about here. It's not that the Big 12 got it wrong. It's that somebody was ranked that low. Or they have 16 or 17. I can't remember. I actually asked Jeff that question yesterday, and he got a couple wrong of the Big Four conferences, how many teams they have. And we all know the SEC has 16. I think the Big 12 has 16. And I think the ACC's 18 and the Big 10 17. I don't know. I don't know who's in them either. And I'm the football expert. Anyway, that is this, that, and the other, brought to you by Ballyhoo, by Notary Joe's, and by our good friends at Darr Schackow Insurance. Let's move to our Adams Ribco Gator of the Week. And I think I'm going to go see Adam today. That's right. He's got a basket, either today or tomorrow. He's got a basket ready for me he's helping out with the Kira Grace tournament. Mike Lizardo putting that on over at UF. That's coming up at the end of the month. So if you want to play in it, I highly recommend it. I'm going to play in it, and come on out there and play. It's easy to find the information on it. Kira Grace Foundation Golf Tournament. Just Google that in, Keira. I think I spelled that right, Grace. And you can try to get in the tournament. I think it's a good idea. It's going to be a lot of fun. And I'm doing some stuff to help them. And one thing is, I talked to Adam, and of course, Adam was always willing to help anybody in the community and make them feel special. Well, our Adams Ribco Gators of the week, there's two of them. One of them is named Aiden King. You guys all know who he is. Was named first team All-American freshman All-American, which is not the same. You don't get a brick for it. You don't get a brick for anything in baseball. But anyway, if you got a brick, you wouldn't get a brick for this. But freshman All-American is still a big deal. First team by Division D1 baseball, which is, to me, the one that matters the most. And then also Brendan Lawson was named second team, which is certainly a great honor. There was a lot of good freshmen in just in this conference. It felt like every day you were looking up and there was some freshman that was just ridiculous. And everywhere, they're everywhere, it felt like. So just to make second team is certainly huge. And Aiden King, congratulations to him. And they are our Gators of the week. And I'm sure that if they want to go to Adams Rib with me, I'll buy them a nice, get them a little pulled pork sandwich. I'll stick with the ribs. Their ribs are really good. All right, let's move along to our Leonardo's at Millhopper Quick Picks. It is time to pull a winner. And we're going to do that, and we will send a $25 gift certificate in the mail to whoever I pick out of this. We had a lot of entries this time. I think, it was 74 entries, okay? So I just went 1 through 74, and we'll get a number from, I was thinking about letting Kristi do it, but I'll go ahead and let Zach do it because we got to keep it the way we always do it. What number are you going to give me, Zach? 1 and 74. We had 74 people get in.
Between 1 and 7. Let's go 45.
45. That is Keith Collier. Keith Collier has won. He's won a couple times, so good for him. Keith, I think I have your address because you've won a couple times. Keith won the very first one that we did. Yeah. So I'll send you $25 at Leonardo's. I was actually over at Leo's yesterday. This is amazing. Wednesday afternoon, it's raining outside. I'm at there. The place is wall-to-wall people. They still treated me like a king, as they always do. But literally, Kyle could not get me the gift certificates for the next batch. I do have one still remaining, and I'll send it to you and to Keith. And but I'll go back and see Kyle probably today or tomorrow. Well, I got a lot of stuff to do, even though don't have a lot of stuff to do. But somehow I find a way to do it. All right, we'll give you a new Leonardo's qualifier next week on Monday, and we'll do that. We always do it. We always love to give away those gift certificates. All right, it is time for, and I think this is the last one, because Hugh Cain's going off the books because he's selling his Allstate insurance agency, and we love Hugh Cain, and we appreciate him so much for being a sponsor. Well, we have an opening. If somebody else wants to get in, you can make it a Mayhem Moment if you want, but no, you can do anything you want. We are very loose. And again, a lot of times what happens is people go, hey, I want to do a sponsorship. And I go, how about this? Like, I'm trying to get Florida Pest to come on board. How about the Pest of the Week? That'd be a good one. Anyway, so we'll see. But anyway, we got to get to our Hugh Cain Allstate Mayhem Moment.
The Gator Nation is in good hands with local Allstate agent Hugh Cain. Stop by Alachua Marketplace Plaza in Alachua and get a free quote today.
And here it is. This ball is hit by Jake Mangus, a deep fly ball to center field. Oh, is this going to be a great catch? No, it's not. Going off the wall. And again, Jake Mangum is by the way, an SEC player, so you should know him very well. And he gets an inside the park homer yesterday, Wednesday, to help the Rays win that game. And boy, they're a half game behind. And now the Yankees because the Yankees just keep losing, which makes me happy. But they do this every year. Yankees and the Blue Jays are tied at the top of the East now. So anyway, Jake Mangum gets a inside the park homer, which is always a cool thing. I got one time, inside the park homer. Babe Ruth League. I called it a homer. I hit it over a guy's head in left field, though. But by the time when he threw it in, he threw it to the wrong base, so I scored. I counted as a homer. All right, that is our Hugh Cain Allstate Mayhem Moment. And again, we really appreciate Hugh for all the help he's given us. Let us move along to our quarterback club segment. I know that I talked to Mike Floyd yesterday. They're waiting on the word back about Katie Turner coming to speak, and I'll let you know for sure probably Monday on that. That'll be great. Last time she did it, I think it was a couple of years ago. She was just I was just blown away by how well she does. She's really good and really smart. You can see how she's able to talk to parents. That's the big thing, is talking to the parents. It's not a matter of just recruiting a kid. It's recruiting the parents and also making them understand what your plan is. And they're very good at that at Florida. I can tell you that. They're good at that in a lot of places, and they get a lot of good players. But anyway, I hope she's able to do that. We'll let you know for sure. And of course, Billy Donovan for the big gala on the Tuesday before the opening game of football. That is going to be fun. He's going to have some stories, man. He'll have some stories. I guarantee you. I'm going to go, Billy. Don't talk about the Bulls. Just talk about Florida. That's all anybody wants to hear you talk about. The good old days. All right. That is our quarterback club segment, and we'll move along to our Los Linderos segment, which Los Linderos Tequila. Go beyond with Los Linderos Tequila, the choice of Urban Meyer and Pat Dooley. That's a pretty good combination to have right there. Los Linderos Tequila. We love it. Love it. Love it. All right, let's get to our Los Linderos Tequila Smooth Move of the Week. And our Smooth Move of the Week was Kyle Crooks. And I'm saying this because I love the guy. He's a really talented announcer. He is leaving here, and people hate that he's leaving. Did such a good job with different sports, but mostly softball. I listened to multiple softball games he did. Also did a couple baseball games. Also did some men's basketball, and I mean he's been like a what do they call that, Swiss Army knife for UF for the average for their ability to get him to be able to do a lot of things, kind of like Jeff does. He's kind of like a different version of Jeff, but he's going to Nebraska, and he's going to be the play-by-play for their football team, which is a huge job, man. He is going to find out about Nebraska fans, but look, he knows one thing. They're passionate. That's why they have the record for most sold-out games. And for Kyle, who is always a smooth talker and always does things the right way, he is our Los Linderos Smooth Move of the Week, moving right up to Lincoln, Nebraska. We're going to miss you. First game he gets is Arrowhead Stadium. Nebraska plays Cincinnati. That'll be actually a pretty good game. That's a Thursday night game, too. I'm into that. Again, I get into those kind of games, and Jeff gets mad at me. If I'm looking forward to certain games. Like, I'm already thinking about the Auburn, Oklahoma game, about the battle of dueling quarterbacks. And I don't know. There's just things that I can't wait for in college football season. Well, one thing I can never wait for is our Swamp Games of the Weekend, because we love it. We love our games of the weekend. We love the Swamp Restaurant. I know who really loves it is my daughter, Kelsey, who now has become addicted to watching Love Island there. I don't get it. I'll never get it. But she also loves going there for sports, and there are plenty of sports going on this weekend, mostly baseball. You know that Wimbledon is on all the time. So just go there. If you go, especially during the day, you want to go there for brunch or something. Have a little something, a little nosh, a little something to drink. Wimbledon will be on, I promise you. Golf is going on this weekend, too. It's a good field at the John Deere, but it's going to be on the Golf Channel and NBC, so you can watch it there. And then baseball-wise, oh, by the way, if you're wondering about Shelton, he played at Wimbledon today at 11:30. So I think he won't play for another 2 days. So it'll probably be Saturday when he plays again. So just keep an eye on that. Archie agrees in the background. All right, let's get to our other Swamp Games of the week. weekend, I'm sorry, with baseball. Friday, the Braves are playing against the Braves are on TV. Yay. Against Baltimore. It'll be tough. 7:15 is on the Major League Baseball channel. Saturday, boy, there's a lot of games this weekend. Saturday, you got the Yankees at the Mets, 4:10 on the FS1 channel. Houston at the Dodgers, 7:15 on Fox, and Pittsburgh at Seattle, 10:10 on FS1. It's like a college football weekend for baseball. Sunday, St. Louis at the Cubs, 6:10 on ESPN, and then Texas at San Diego at 9:10 on ESPN. So sit yourself down at the Swamp, watch the games. It'll be great. It'll be beautiful. Watch golf on the second TV. Watch tennis on another one. It's the only way to live, right? And have a good time. Everybody have a safe, and happy 4th of July. Remember what it's all about, and remember how we got here. And don't try to light a firework with the firework in your hand. Okay? I'm looking at you. You know I'm looking at. All right. That'll do it for another duly noted podcast presented by Titan MRI and Imaging, coming to you from the Meldon Law Gator Studios. We'll be back with another one Monday with Coach Spurrier. Until then, I'm Pat Dooley saying I'm deep way back, and I am out of here.